We are unexpectedly continuing our coverage of the biggest, most dangerous, most embarrassing national security breach in modern American history. Because the man at the center of it all, Donald Trump's disgraced national security advisor, Mike Waltz, just wrapped up what was probably the most awkward Fox News interview I've ever seen. Waltz was visibly panicked, almost hyperventilating, and contradicted himself from one sentence to the next as he desperately tried to deflect blame for his mistake when he accidentally invited the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, to an unauthorized conversation with other top cabinet officials in which they discussed a highly sensitive military strike against Houthi terrorists. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about. This is going to be painful to watch Waltz disgrace himself on live TV. It's also, I guess, kind of darkly funny, but let's jump right into it. Here's Michael Waltz making an ass out of himself.
Entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
You know, Laura, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, who has lied to Gold Star families, lied to their attorneys, and gone to Russia hoax, gone to just all kinds of links to lie and smear the president of the United States, and he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
Is someone in your intel? Is someone in your intel team trying to cause trouble here? Because that's the scuttlebutt out there.
Look,
that
we have people. We have people. No, look, this is a great group. The president has a great team. This is not first term.
No, your team. I'm not talking about the other principals.
No. These were principals and a couple of staff that were coordinating, as you saw, having a policy discussion as we went forward, and then just in the days before what was an incredible strike.
Yeah, so listen, Laura, I'm not saying it was a conspiracy, right? But I mean, like, obviously something like nefarious and sinister, maybe sorcery, maybe it was magic, right? Or some sort of like super advanced like hacking. Maybe it was like AI involved, because the only other plausible explanation is that I made a colossal mistake and accidentally invited someone into a chat who should not have been there, in a chat which should not have existed in the first place, on an app which should not have hosted that chat. I mean, like, Laura, what are you gonna assume? You see the contradictions there, right? I mean, going back and forth, and then also saying, well, no, it wasn't the staff. Like, nobody on the staff made a mistake. Like, everybody's got a good staff. We got a great team. Like, he can't settle on an explanation, when the simplest explanation, according to Occam's razor, is probably, the best one. In this case, Mike Waltz just screwed up, but he doubles down on it. Here's another clip.
Yes. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. Yes. We're going to get.
So there you have Michael Waltz again, desperate to deflect here. Maybe if I just insult Jeffrey Goldberg enough, like one more time, maybe that'll be enough to get everybody off my ass. No, probably not. The scrutiny is going to be there. Pathetic stuff. Here's another clip.
President, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now, whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So
what does that even mean? Notice the stammering, notice the nervousness, notice the contradictions. No, it wasn't anybody on staff. No, I built it. I take full responsibility, but also it totally wasn't my fault. You know how like you pull up someone's name, but it has a different number. I don't know how Jeffrey Goldberg got his number into somebody else's contact on my phone, because I don't know him. And my staff wasn't responsible for it, and I didn't make a mistake, but it is my fault. Pathetic shit from a weasel. This guy deserves to be brutally mocked for the rest of his life by everybody. In the media, his former Democratic and Republican colleagues, treated with total disrespect. What a loser. Here's another clip.
So your staffer did not put his contact information.
No,
but how did it end up in your
well, that's
phone?
what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, but that's a pretty big problem.
That is what. That's what we've got the best technical minds, right?
That's disturbing.
And that's where I mean.
You see, again, notice the nervousness where he's interrupting her. That's how you can tell. It's not just the tone of voice. It's not the upward inflection. It's the fact that he can't let her get a word out edgewise, right? He can't let her finish a sentence or a question. He feels the need to like heckle and interrupt and anticipate because he knows it was his mistake. He screwed up. It's his fault. And if it had been a Democrat, if this had been Jake Sullivan, President Biden's Democratic National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz would be advocating for either his termination or resignation.
I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert.
Great question, Laura. Great question. That's a really good question. Damn.
And then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in.
You that
it gets
contact.
Sucked in.
Was there someone else supposed to be on the chat that wasn't on the chat that you thought was?
So
on
the
the chat?
person that I thought was on there was never on there. It was this
Who
guy.
was that? What person?
Well, I'm not. Look, okay. Laura, I take responsibility. I built the group.
Okay.
So
this is the worst interview I've ever seen. It's like listen, like yeah, I don't have to know him. It's like when you go to add somebody, but there's like a different number. It's like yeah, how did he do that, Laura? How did he do that? This is meme worthy shit. I have never seen an interview go this badly. But wait, there's more.
But they read stuff like, oh wait, there was a 2023 DOD memo that said you shouldn't use Signal. And yet you're here, Ratcliffe, today saying, well, it was commonly used. So doesn't there need to be a standard across the board?
Absolutely.
Just don't use any of these apps. But then how do you communicate when you're not in a skiff? Well,
and that's what you heard. That's what you heard Elon talking about, kind of the mess that is government communications. I could tell.
But
nice, trying to invoke Elon. That was a really stupid decision, given his enormous unpopularity with the American people and increasing unpopularity with Republicans. I'm not sure why he did that. Pure reflex. Probably trying to get the backing of the beleaguered shadow president and all this. Here's another short clip.
Move forward to achieve the president's agenda.
Why was Bessent on this text chain? I was curious about that. There's just like little things like, why would Scott Bessent?
Because you have a sanctions regime. This is, again.
Scott Bessent being the Treasury Secretary and Donald Trump also in this group chat. Again, some more clips. This is crazy.
Communicate. And to the extent we get everybody in the same room, always better.
Yeah, it's always better. But you've never met Goldberg. He's out there saying you guys have met in the past, but you've never met him.
No idea. Wouldn't know him if I bumped into him, if I saw him in a police lineup. Do now. Knew him by reputation about lying about the president over and over again. What I can tell you for certain, certainly wasn't reaching out or talking to him at all. Why would I?
Yeah, well, he's been one of the most vociferous, vituperative, so-called journalists out there in the Atlantic.
Well, near and dear to my heart is a vet communicate, and to the.
So again, one of the prevailing rumors is that they were in touch because Michael Waltz was leaking information to Jeffrey Goldberg at the Atlantic, and I was like, I definitely wasn't like, listen, I've never had definitely wasn't leaking stuff to him in the past, like in previous conversations. That's definitely not happening. Man, you sure sound persuasive. Two more clips, folks.
Percent of global commerce is getting rerouted. The world owes the president a favor, or excuse me, a thank you for taking this on and fixing this.
Again, like we all misspeak, myself included, especially when I'm excited, when I'm energetic. Like even now, like I just find this so funny. Like anybody's capable of this, but Michael Waltz is supposed to be a seasoned communicator, an experienced former congressman, and he's tripping over his words left, right, and center in otherwise friendly terrain. He's on Fox News. It's not like he's getting grilled by Mehdi Hassan or by CNN or MSNBC. He's having a conversation with a fellow MAGA cultist, and he still seems nervous as hell. Final clip.
Lessons learned after the app. We're not using Signal app anymore.
Yeah, right. Lesson learned number one is you've got journalists out there who have made fame and fortune trying to trash this president. Yeah. And so, look, we've got to tighten up. We are tightening up, and we have some of the best technology minds looking at how this happened.
Well.
So the lesson learned is like whatever Donald Trump says, Donald Trump hates the press, hates the media. That's really the lesson, is that journalists suck. Not me, Mike Waltz, who is responsible for national security and giving advice on that front, making the biggest and most embarrassing national security blunder in modern American history. Like, that's not the lesson. The lesson is journalists suck because we make mistakes and then they report on them, and that's just not right. And what, Mr. President, is there anything else you want me to say, sir, so I can keep my job? Did I do good, sir? Did I do good? Again, that was probably the most awkward and painful Fox News interview I've ever seen. Again, Michael Waltz deserves nothing but your contempt and disdain. He's a loser of the highest order. He might be, just between what's happened over the past 48 hours and this interview, he might legitimately be the most pathetic member of the Trump administration, the most contemptible and contemptuous, and that's saying something. Please spread this video and other clips as well. Let the world see how pathetic this guy is. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.